Thank you, Heidi. That was powerful. Powerful. I could feel it. I need to wake up. Hopefully I'm awake this morning. Good morning, everyone. First things first, I'd like to pass on a message that I was asked to give you last night by one of our congregants named Vicky. And I'm so sorry. I know how to spell her name, but I don't know how to pronounce it. Baroque? Am I saying that right? Barrick. Thank you, Art. Vicky Barrick says to tell everyone hi, that she misses everyone, and she'll be back in a few weeks. So she's going through her own transformation process this week, and I've been in contact with her several times, and she asked me to pass that on to you first thing this morning. And so big hugs to all of you from Vicky. So we're moving into our month of transition. October's theme, transition, and transition is a change from one thing to another. It's either an action or it's a state of being. So this is a time of transition, isn't it? It's a time of transition in our center. It's definitely a time of transition in my life. It's a time of transition in nature. There's all kinds of transforming things going on right now. And so I'd like to explore, and I invite you to go with me today as we touch on all the different things that can come up when we are faced with a transition. And a lot of times our transitions are known to us. We selected them. We chose them. They're on purpose. Sometimes transitions occur and we didn't know they were coming around the corner. And I have discovered that regardless of whether we've picked them and we know they're coming or whether we didn't know they were coming, we're still going through and processing some of the same experiences and feelings and situations and sometimes conflicts and complications. We can find our emotions just all over the place. You know, transition is also a name that we as religious scientists speak of when someone transitions from this physical plane and their spiritual body then just goes on living once their physical embodiment has decided that it's time and it's done. So transition is definitely a movement from one aspect to another. Everything in this life can be used to transform us, to bring us closer to our spiritual essence and our dreams. In other words, either we are using life in our favor or we are using it against ourselves. How are you seeing life? And that's a quote from Debbie Ford. So I want to point out that these transitions that we kind of sign up for, and the ones that we don't sign up for, it's still up to us to decide and choose how we are going to show up for them. Just like Debbie Ford said, how are you seeing life? So I wanted to tell you, I've been working with someone, and it's not Vicki. I don't want you to think it's Vicki, because I said I'd talk to her too. I've been working with someone all of this week that has had some radical spiritual transformation, dealing with so many subconscious thoughts that have surfaced up through them through some different events and experiences this past week. And it has been a transformational experience for this person. I mean, this is what transition can do to us or for us. It can bring everything that we want to push away and numb ourselves of and run away from right here in our face. And I'm going to ask you, are we equipped? Do we have the support within ourselves to be able to face all that comes up for us when we are going through transitions? Because I know this particular person did everything possible to run away from it, to self-destruct, to close down just about everything that was going on in their life. And do you know what the key was? And always is are we able to connect and get in touch with our heart space, in our soul, in our spirit? If we can find a way in, through whatever means and through whatever smile or whatever hug or whatever word, whomever we come across during this time, I know that there is this prompting and this courage and this urging of our spirit every single time. And if we could just get into the heart space a little bit, it allows for major shifts to occur that can happen just like that. When you've spent all this time arguing for your lack and your false beliefs, and you can shift it just like that. So we're going to explore a little bit of that this morning. Hanging on to the old, impulsively reacting based on how it used to be instead of what is present and now, these are some of the feelings and reactions that can come up when we're going through a transition. Avoiding and running away from feeling. And do you know why we do that? Because if we can avoid feeling, any feeling at all, whether we stump our toe or a feeling of feeling elated when we see and greet someone we may have not seen in a while, we tend to numb ourselves and run away from all of those feelings, because if we were to allow ourselves to feel, even for just one quick hot second, that brings us into our heart space. And then that urge that is wanting to make things worse for us because we're in pain and we want to feel pain, it knows, don't let you get into the heart space. Don't let you go there, because then it knows that the floodgates are most likely going to open and a shift can occur. And so the running away from feeling, therefore, keeps us from opening our heart. So it is so important to witness yourself as an observer. You know, when we go through these transitions, we can be right here in dealing with whatever's coming up and doing our best to numb ourselves or push ourselves away from all that is right and good. But I invite us to be the observer witnessing what's going on. You know, it doesn't mean that the emotions aren't going to come up. Just like in a physical transition with the 5 stages of grief, we are going to have stages that are going to come up, even if it's a wonderful transition that we signed up for. You know, our emotions are going to be kind of all over the place because there is an action of letting go of something that's going to occur. We have to let go of something because transition is moving from one state of being or one physical experience to another. So we're saying goodbye to something in order to invite something else into our life. And so it's important to be an observer while this is going on. Maybe not go into reactionary mode, but respond. You know, I like to explain it as, instead of being at the 1 foot or the 10 foot or the 15 foot level when you're in the midst of all of this going on, but rise yourself up to maybe the 30 foot level so that you can observe the whole picture. So when you see the way in which we get trapped in the sense of separation and identification with body and personality, how do you awaken out of the illusion that you're separate? Because in order to be that observer, you kind of need to realize that you are one. You are completely connected with this that you are observing. It's almost, and I almost hate to use this as an example, but it's almost like the parent-child relationship. It's almost like you become the parent, and you're going to watch the child, which is also you, go through this experience and either respond or react to it. So, like I said, the doorway out of that illusion that we're separate is the heart. Mark Nepo explains it perfectly in this quote of what I feel is so important when moving through transitions. You know, you've got this stuff coming up. Move into observer mode. And then allow yourself to feel and be authentic and genuine. And so Mark Nepo says it's like wearing gloves every time we touch something. And then forgetting we chose to put them on, we complain that nothing feels quite right. Our challenge each day is not to get dressed to face the world, but to unglove ourselves so that the doorknob feels cold and the car handle feels wet and the kiss goodbye feels like the lips of another human being, soft and unrepeatable. It's about moving into that sense and that courage to be able to feel. You can do it. I can do it. We can all do it because we have inherently within ourselves the perfect pattern of divine spirit that allows us to have the courage to be real and authentic with everything that we're moving through in our life, in our daily life. And I wanted to point out that, you know, transitions, they They can tend to occur sometimes cyclic, calendar-wise, the natural transitions that occur seasonally. But I believe that we go through transitions daily, minute by minute. Minute by minute, we are constantly and consistently making choices of letting go of this to choose this, assessing this to move into this. Because we are constantly being pulled into the greater revelation and awareness of the spiritual divine that rests within us. So slide 2, Eric. It does, doesn't it? The butterfly effect is actually the talk, and I will get to that, my talk title. So, nurture the love within you. Let yourself be open, and life will be easier. The real source of all pleasure, truth, respect, and goodness is not found in things. It's contained in us. So I wanted to give you an example. If I were to pick up this cup of water here, how heavy do you think this cup of water is? Just a guess. Maybe an ounce, 8 ounces, half ounce, yeah. So my ability to hang on to this cup of water isn't really connected to how heavy it is. It can be a little bit, but it's really connected to how long I'm going to choose to hold it. Because if I hold it for the rest of the talk, I'm probably going to be just fine. If I were to stand here and hold it all day, I'm probably going to have some sore muscles tomorrow morning. And if I chose to hang on to this for weeks and months and years, it's going to debilitate me. And this cup of water represents our false beliefs. That's what tends to come up when we're going through transitions, is all of our false beliefs, the ones that we didn't even know were in there, that want to show up and rear their head and cause us to truly face what it is that we have been holding on to and believing about ourselves that's not true, that's trying to keep us from moving gracefully through this transition, whatever that might be. And so a part of our steps of being able to be self-reliant and assist ourselves through transitions is let go of your old beliefs, but then also as you see them come up for you and for me and everyone, as they're coming up, have the courage and be genuine and authentic with yourself and allow just a tiny bit of yourself, if you can, to go into your heart and become the observer and start observing it from love. Be gentle and kind and caring with yourself. Because I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure you guys can understand and empathize what it feels like if suddenly we go through an experience that throws up all of these unkind thoughts about ourselves. And then it affects our emotions. And then it affects how we interact with other people in our life. And then it affects our decisions. It tends to be kind of messy. So that's the purpose of my point, is getting us through the steps of how we can move gracefully and lightly through transitions. Each day is a practice of release. Each day I let go of what I think I know. Each moment I breathe in the new. Right now I am open to the yes of my becoming. That was written by Tara Abundance, who is a new book coming out soon, The Butterfly Process. So each day, right now, I am opening to the yes of my becoming. I know I am grateful for this expansion. I'm grateful for becoming the observer, when I can catch myself to go and move into witness mode, observer mode. I am grateful, bless you, for being able to contemplate my existence and swim in this deep sense of understanding of my purpose in life, and not having those barriers and blockages of false beliefs come up and cause control over my life. It's wonderful and it's a blessing for the false beliefs to be known. How else are we going to let go of them? What's not such a blessing is when we don't realize that they're controlling and running our life. The blessing is when we realize that they are and we're able to let them go so that we can step into the transition with our head held high, our heart wide open, and make the choices that best support ourselves and then our community. So Joseph Campbell says we must let go of the life that we have planned so as to accept the one that is waiting for us. You know, I read this cute story. Not long ago, the employees of a large company in St. Louis, Missouri returned from their lunch break and were greeted with emails and a sign on the door saying, yesterday, the person who has been hindering your growth in this company has passed away. So we invite you to join us in the gym in the room that has been prepared for the funeral. So everyone that were employees of this company, they were amazed. They were like, oh my gosh. You know, they felt a little sad that one of their own had passed away. They didn't know who it was. And they started getting curious about who this could possibly be. They started talking amongst themselves and said, who is this person who is hindering my progress? And then they came to the understanding and decision, well, at least he's not here anymore. So, so one by one, the employees went into the gymnasium, prepared for the funeral, and got in a line to pay their last respects at the coffin. And when they went by the coffin and looked in, they suddenly became speechless. Because they stood over the coffin and they were shocked and silent because it was as if someone had touched the deepest part of their soul, because there was a mirror in the coffin. Everyone who was looking inside was looking at themselves. And there was a sign next to the mirror that said, this is the only person who is capable of setting limits to your growth. And it's you. And I'd like to just add, you know, we're the only people who can set limits to the expansiveness of our soul. We're the only people who can limit how the divine chooses to express itself and be made aware of through us. And then, of course, therefore, into our community. So you can revolutionize your life. That's what transitions are all about, by the way, is each transition that we go through, it's a revolution. We're revolutionizing ourselves, our divine self, our life. We are the only people that can influence our happiness, our success. And when you get right down to it, we're the only people that can truly help ourselves. Now, I recommend highly, you know, if you are going through an experience and your false beliefs are right here in your face and you're really having a hard time moving into that heart space, please reach out. Reach out to someone, because reach out to a practitioner. Do get some treatment, affirmative prayer work. But when you come right down to it, you know, the treatment work, the friend that's going to tell you what you need to hear, it all opens and unlocks a door within your heart, but you are truly the one that's going to allow that process to open up. So we know that our life really doesn't change when our boss changes, or when our friends change, or when our parents change, or when our partner changes. We know that we change when we're willing to go beyond our limiting beliefs. And that's a limiting belief in any area of our life. A limiting belief of saying that those beliefs, I can't do this, or I'm not worthy of this, or I don't deserve that. Those kind of limiting beliefs. So life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced. So as we're moving through those transitions in our life that bring things up for us, another way to move into the observer mode and be a witness to it is instead of being reactive and think, oh my gosh, here's something else I need to solve. This is a problem. It's not a problem. It's a revolution. You know, how different would it be for us if we could step into that, let's celebrate. Let's revolutionize this. Let's put my very own color and note, music note, and whatever and however you like to be creatively expressive, putting that into that flavor of transition. Because we know that from time to time, life we attract into our life some doozy transitions, ones that we didn't even know were coming around. And so we can either react or respond. We can be right or be happy sometimes. We can be angry or we can be love. Those are your choices. So today, I choose to respond, to be happy, to be love. How about you? Because I tell you, they sneak up on you. You know, we're going through a transition in our center, and I am so deeply honored. I'm incredibly excited. I couldn't even possibly pass on to you the amount of joy and excitement that I am going through right now, being your new senior minister. And it just means that there are some things that will need to be let go of, maybe not. And then there's some things that are going to be invited to be embraced. And that's just one example of a transition. You know, we've got some teens that just started high school. That's a transition. We've got some folks that are moving through some health challenges. That's a transition. You know, there's several going on in our life right now. So I am going to invite us to move into the celebratory mode, observer, witness mode, enter through your heart. If you're having a hard time with that, reach out. Ask for some assistance. Because this room is filled with beautiful, loving, divine beings that I am sure would love to mirror the beauty and the divinity and the true beliefs of your soul and your spirit. Life is change. Growth is optional. Choose wisely, says William Maugham. Next slide, please. So this is Dylan Crane. He was my godson ever since he was born. I swore I wasn't going to do this. I want to tell you Dylan's story, the difference between problems and the difference between celebrating. Now, I'm not just saying this because he was my godson, but Dylan was a very special spiritual being. Right from the time he could speak, he knew that he was here to change the world. And he was absolutely adorable because he was infatuated with plays and film and theater and production and drama, and he wanted to be a director, a film producer. And he would tell everyone at parties, at family gatherings, that that's what he was going to do, but he was also going to be a fireman because he needed to make money to pay for his costumes. And I thought that was adorable. So he was going to change the world. And he did. Yet when Dylan was 12 years old, he went on a trip to Europe and came back with excruciating pain in his leg. And a biopsy was done, and he was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma, which is a very aggressive form of bone cancer. And he went through lots of treatment for that, and got a titanium leg, replaced the bone, which was basically eaten up by that time, and was going through some of the harshest at that time chemotherapy and radiation treatments to kill the cancer cells. He also went through stem cell replacement therapy. During all of this, and the reason why I'm sharing this story with you is right from the very beginning, because he went to school one day and was pulled out of school. He was in middle school and said, you need to go get biopsied now. And this experience was startling for him. And as you can imagine, for a 12-year-old, we always considered Dylan to be pretty old soul. So even though he was pretty old soul and certainly was mature beyond his years, he was still frightened. And he says, I need to do something about this. I need to produce a film and video my entire process, no matter what that's going to be, so that other kids can watch it and not be so scared. Because it's all about having information. It's all about being aware. And that's what Dylan did. He did it throughout his entire process, the 2.5 years of treatment that he received. And then he did eventually transition due to a complication of the chemotherapy. It hurt his liver, and his body shut down, and he did die. But I will tell you that he produced his film before he died. And you can see you can see in this picture here, he's got his camera while he's on the gurney being wheeled in for another surgery. He videoed everything. He interviewed the medical staff. He put his own thoughts in there. He didn't leave anything out. And he produced this incredible movie. And in 2006, it won an Emmy. So he did that. He changed the world. And he never got angry. I never saw him get angry. The only time I ever saw him get slightly angry is that he was bemoaning the fact that he didn't believe he was going to be able to go on and make all of the brilliant movies that he wanted to make. But he made one that has made the difference in lots of children's lives even today. And so I wanted to give that as an example where Dylan was faced and forced to go through a transition that he didn't really, on most levels, sign up for. But he moved into it with a spirit of celebration. And what can I do? What can I do to turn this situation into something that can be celebrated? So Bob Luckin, who is a minister in the Centers for Spiritual Living and a dear, dear old friend of mine, he wrote this down, and I thought this was the perfect time to share it with you. Imagine that your life was the greatest of fine art. Would you put it in a small hand-me-down frame that didn't fit? Or would you treat it like the priceless art that it is and frame it in one of the most beautiful frames you could find? Would you hang it in the background where it couldn't be seen? Or would you hang it on one of the best walls with the best light and the best gallery of your living? It really is your decision. So I'm going to ask you this morning, what kind of frame are you using for your life right now? What wall of your living are you choosing to hang it on? I'm going to move into metamorphosis now, the butterfly effect. Metamorphosis means major change in the appearance or character of someone or something, change of physical form, structure, or substance, especially by supernatural means, a striking alteration in appearance, character, or circumstance. Now, the butterfly is one of the most powerful symbols of personal transformation that we have in our society and in multiple societies. The butterfly's symbolism guide us to be sensitive to our personal cycles of expansion and growth, as well as the beauty of life's continual unfolding. The butterfly brings with it an important message. It brings the spirit of going about this metamorphosis, about these transitions with the ability to do it with grace and lightness. The symbol of the butterfly points out these attributes. It's a powerful transformation, metamorphosis in your life and your personality. It can mean moving through different life cycles, renewal, rebirth, finding joy in life, lightness of being, playfulness, elevation from earthly matters turning into emotional or spiritual, and the word of the soul, of the psyche. Those are all things that, you can go to the next one, thank you, that the symbolism of the butterfly and the thing of metamorphosis can occur with. So do you need to look at any particular transformational experiences and situations with more lightness and with different perspective that may be going on in your life? Whatever might be coming up for you in this moment, what if we colored it with lightness? What if we colored it with a different perspective? The butterfly is a symbol of lightness of being and elevation from heaviness and tensions. Mary Angelou said, "We delight in the beauty of the butterfly, but rarely admit to the changes it has gone through to achieve that beauty." You know, that coming out of the chrysalis that Maureen shared in her reading, there's nothing wrong with that struggle and that strife. There's nothing wrong with those false beliefs that come up for us to deal with. It's beautiful. It's life in the divine creating itself and making us more aware of it operating in our life. There's nothing wrong with it at all. It's what we're going to choose to do with it that makes all the difference in our world and all of the people's worlds around us. I've got to share this, and this is the reason why I put the quote on the slide, so that you all can read it while I do, so that you can take it in. To live one's life in the awareness that we not only survive death, but that every thought, every nuance of relationship, every act is recorded in a deep dimension of reality, gives a far greater awareness of our responsibility for how we conduct ourselves in our relationships with others, and how far-reaching our words and actions are in affecting the lives and well-being of others. If all of our lives and consciousness are connected, then this makes perfect sense. And so I've talked about how when we go through transitions, what comes up for us to deal with, and the reaching out, and the getting the assistance that we need. And it's really all about, because we are all connected. We are all one. Each one of us, as we're going through whatever it is that we may be going through in those transitions, it's affecting other people's lives. It affects our community. So that choice that we make to move into celebration, or to do like Dylan did and use his gifts and talents to change the world, that's I think it's super powerful. It's pretty phenomenal, actually. So slide 5, Eric. So how does one become a butterfly, she asks. You must want to fly so much that you are willing to give up being a caterpillar. Slide 6. Life is a school where we learn how to remember what your soul already knows. I'm just kind of using this as a summary of what I've covered so far. The next slide. And so we get to the butterfly effect. Just when the caterpillar thought the world was over, it becomes a butterfly. I'm certain that if you go back and review your life and look at the life's transitions, transformations that you've gone through, whether you signed up for them or they were surprising you, I'm sure that you can see and feel the times when you thought that things just weren't going to be right, or things just weren't going to be so. Really, it turned into an opportunity and experience for you to fly. And so what I'm going to do now, and I'm going to do a little bit of a warning. Well, I don't even like to use the word warning, but I want to say that there's a very short video clip that I want to play for you by Bruce Lipton. And Bruce Lipton is an American developmental biologist who's best known for promoting the idea that genes and DNA can be manipulated by a person's beliefs. And I just want to say it's a short little video, and I love the way he explains the metamorphosis process, but there's a couple of clips that I felt were graphic. I've shown it to a couple of people. They didn't think it was all that bad. They said, you see worse in the news. And I said, well, I don't watch the news, so maybe that's why I think you're graphic. So just know that I know there's a couple of graphic scenes in there, and being forewarned, hopefully it means that you won't be too disturbed, but there's some great insight in this video that I wanted to share with you.
The wonderful part about nature being fractal is that we can use patterns in nature to understand other patterns that exist, because patterns repeat themselves. So now if you want to look at a pattern that's playing itself out on this planet right now that will give us insight about what is going on.
So I say, look inside a caterpillar that's growing.
And a caterpillar represents, let's say, 7 billion cells living under the same skin. Each cell is a citizen.
And guess what? They're like people like us. They're working every day. Cells in the digestive system are taking the food and breaking it down and making products out of it.
Some cells are the motility cells. Those are the cells that move the caterpillar around. Structures of like our highways with trucks and vehicles carrying materials all over the place, something like that.
Cells of the immune system are taking their job of protecting the system. Respiration system is making sure fresh oxygen is being delivered. So all the cells have jobs. The caterpillar's growing. If you were in there and a reporter, you look around going, yeah, the economy is going great guns. It's growing every day. Everybody's working, full employment. This is the kind of thing we love to see. How much are we growing every day? Some percent every day.
And then the caterpillar reaches a certain stage of growth. And at that stage of growth, it just stops eating. It can't take in anymore at this point. It's reaching a maximum size. Then if you're a cell inside that community, imagine what would happen. That you're on the job and all of a sudden there's less food coming in and you're a digestive cell. And you say, well, man, the work is slowing down here. The factory is slowing down. Then all of a sudden it gets to such a low level that many cells get laid off of the job. Now their cells not working. Why? There's not enough food coming in to keep them all working. And as the food shuts down, down, then the other jobs are affected, because if there's no food, then there's no energy, and all the systems start laying off cells, and pretty soon there's massive chaos under the skin of a caterpillar. Why? The systems stop growing, the cells are out of work, nothing is evolving, and the thing is falling apart. If you were a cell in that caterpillar body at that time, you would look around and say, oh my God, our world is coming to an end. And yet, in the midst of those billions of cells,
in among them are other cells that are genetically identical to them, no different. But they think differently. They respond to the signals differently.
These cells have the interesting name called imaginal cells. And these imaginal cells come up with new visions. And what happens is, in the midst of all this chaos, when all the other cells are running around thinking the end of the world is coming, the new imaginal cells are laying out new ideas, new visions, a new plan, a new scheme, a new way of life. And around these ideas, the cells reorganize, and they start to create new massive organizations to create something much more fabulous than the previous system. A system that is much more sustainable, a system with a higher level of evolution. And that system they're constructing called the butterfly. So there's a transition from an old world of caterpillar with an old belief system and an old way of life that was no longer sustainable.
And therefore, you have two choices in this world right now. You can retain your caterpillar status and go, oh my God, the sky is falling, and be in fear. Or you can say, the caterpillar is going, I want to build the butterfly. Why? Because if I become active and, positive in the process of building the butterfly, I'm engaged, I'm working, we're creating the future. If I sit there and bemoan the loss of the caterpillar, then I'm making myself sick and everything around me. Why? I'm not contributing to our evolution. And so, where are we? We're at the demise of the caterpillar stage of civilization and the rise of the butterfly.
Wasn't that fascinating? I personally found it very fascinating because of the idea of the imaginal cell. That's amazing to me. The imaginal cell has the same molecular structure, the same DNA, yet it starts responding differently. It starts to move in with a different perspective, a different response. Nori Huddle is a woman that has written a book about the butterfly metamorphosis that Bruce Lipton has talked about with the imaginal cell story. And I'm going to share just a little bit of that. She says that they start out, they all resonate together in the same frequency. It starts out with one imaginal cell and then another one and then another one, and then they start communicating because they're communicating on the same vibration, the same frequency. And this is all happening while the caterpillar's in the cocoon. And then at some point, the entire long string of imaginal cells suddenly realizes altogether that it's something different from the caterpillar, something new, something wonderful. And then they realize that they have become a butterfly. So then, since the butterfly knows that it's a butterfly, the little tiny imaginal cells no longer have to do all the little things the individual cells do. Now they are a part of a multi-celled organism, a family that can share in that creation process and in the work of moving the butterfly through life. So each new butterfly cell can take on a different job. There's something for everyone to do in the butterfly cell, and everyone is important. And each cell begins to do just the very thing that it's most drawn to. And every other cell encourages it to do just that. So this morning, I'm going to point out that you are the butterfly. You are the butterfly. This center is the butterfly, and we are all the imaginal cells here today. We are awakening to connect to this field energy that is, a scientist said if you cut a cocoon open while it's going through its process, there's just a lot of gelatinous ooze in there. You don't really see the finished product until the butterfly moves out of the cocoon. So we are that ooze that is the imaginal cells coming together, communicating, interconnecting, supporting and encouraging each other to step up and participate and give of their gift in that special way that we give of our gift. And so we are so much more together than we are alone. We need each other to remember how magnificent that we are. We need each other to come and formulate this new home, this home that we call home. And the way we learn to do it to do it alone, to be strong, to be stalwart, to stand on our own. That doesn't work when you're an imaginal cell creating a butterfly. And so we all come home together. We all merge and form a butterfly together. So your understanding of what the universe is all about changes as you proceed through the path of this enlightenment, this unfolding, and that's what transitions bring us to do and call us to do every single time. As your vantage point, the witness, the observer, as choosing a different perspective, as it changes, you begin to understand more and more of how it is, 30-foot level, as opposed to 10 foot. With this greater understanding comes greater compassion. And acceptance of how it is brings an ability to see the divine plan in everything unfolding, even those what we could call failings, when those false beliefs come up, and those failings of others that we may witness and see. We're easily moved into compassion and acceptance and love and approval, which then allows the imaginal cells to create and bring about the butterfly. So remember, we are all affecting the world every moment, whether we mean to or not. Our actions and state of mind matter because we are so deeply interconnected with one another. Working on our own consciousness is the most important thing that we can ever do in any moment. And moving into that heart space, being courage, allowing ourselves to feel the coldness of the door handle, feel the kiss goodbye. And being love is the supreme creative act. And so slide 9, the metamorphosis process activity. This is what we're going to do this morning. Taking into account everything that we've covered, all of the feelings that can come up when you're being asked to transition through a different experience or a different process, and then what we can do to support ourselves. I am going to invite us to enter into an activity that's going to allow us to experience it right now. I'm going to walk us through a metamorphosis process where we get to come together as each one of those cells, as each one of those imaginal cells creating the butterfly. And so I'm going to give you a few little simple instructions and then we're going to get at it. Is everybody with me? Okay. So I've picked out a particular song. And when the music starts playing, I'm gonna ask you to find a partner, and you're gonna not now, but get up out of your seats and you're gonna find a partner. And while the music is playing, this is what we're all gonna do together. Is with your partner, you are going to take your partner's hand, and for 3 breaths, you're going to gaze into your partner's eyes, fully loving and appreciating and accepting and honoring your partner. For 3 breaths. And then for 3 more breaths, you're gonna not do that. You're gonna hug your partner for 3 breaths. And when that is complete, you're gonna move on to the next partner. And you're gonna do this continually until the music is over. Is everybody with me? Mm-hmm. And Eric, if you could cut my mic and then start the music, thank you.